Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing here some test hands for Relinquished, and this will be with the new card Golden Eyes Idol. So it will be quite exciting to see the differences with this particular deck now that we actually have a new card in the form of a card that actually allows you to go into your Thousand Eyes Restrict at a much easier pace. So with that being said, let's just get started and shuffle everything up. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but we can only find out. Before we start, I would like to remind you guys to drop a like, share, comment and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to also hit the bell notification as well. However, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so in this circumstance we definitely have quite an odd hand. This one, it might seem like you can't do anything, and you know, to a certain degree, yeah, you can kind of agree that this actually doesn't do too much. But you know what, you could technically still get away with doing certain things here. For example, we still have our Super Poly, so we can set that, and as you can see here, I'm pretty much, even though this is a bad hand, I'm going to keep it anyway, because technically you could still do stuff with it, because if you think about it in the sense that you're going second, you could pull off quite a few amazing feats here, because keep in mind you have two kaijus out on the board, so you could just use this to get rid of your opponent's card, and then you go for this and attack over it. Otherwise, you can easily go for a Super Poly over here, and to be honest, Super Poly is already enough, a really powerful card, so unless your opponent directly destroys this, they're not going to be able to summon out any big monsters out there without you first getting through them via this particular card. So if they don't pop this card, then you could easily just get rid of their Dragoons if they plan on actually doing so. But with that being said, you do have discard fodder in the form of this as well, and on your following turn you still have the two kaijus to follow up on as well. So it's not necessarily the worst thing. Definitely something I consider to be a bit lackluster than I expected, but still something that is okay enough that we could still play around with it. Alright, so here's a different opening hand, definitely a bit different in this case. I'm surprised that so far, by the time we got to our second test hand, we still are getting the Golden Eyes Idol, and this time we're getting two of them as well, so definitely something I did not expect. This is just a bit of odd luck, I would say, in this particular circumstance, but we could definitely start off with the Orpha Scorpio, allowing us to discard one of our cards anyway, which is nice, and that will pretty much allow us to then go for our Darlingtonia Cobra, so we just add that, and we'll use Cobra to then search for whatever we want. So in this case, you look at our hand, we don't have any other Relinquished cards, so I was thinking instead of that, we could either go for Super Poly. We can't really go for Relinquished Fusion because we don't really have any active cards, so the Super Poly sounds good. Otherwise, you could also go for Instant Fusion as well as your other viable option. So you do have a variety of cards you can go into, but I do like the idea of having a Super Poly there. It's definitely a card that would put your opponent at fear, so that would be fantastic, of course. So we could set our Super Poly right off the bat, and then of course we could link these two away, allowing us to then go for our Verte Anaconda as well, which is also fantastic, of course. So in this case, you would go for your Verte Anaconda, and you could perform a few particular combos as well, do your thing, but instead of going for an Anaconda, a bit of fun that you could actually try out is you could actually go for the Cross Sheep right here, right now, and the interesting thing is you just sit on the Cross Sheep, right, and when your opponent actually has something to go with, say they bring out enough monsters to meet the targets for your Super Poly fusions, then you simply just activate the Super Poly. You could easily just discard your own Golden Eyes Idol, and then you could essentially just go into any of your appropriate targets. So that would be either Mud Dragon, this could even be Armaduke if your opponent's playing a Link heavy deck, Dark Monsters, easily these cards. So it's a great variety of options that could definitely put your opponent off guard here, which is definitely fun, and of course it triggers off Cross Sheep as well, which is fantastic. Keep in mind that on the following turn you have an interrupted Kaiju Slumber, so you're going to bring out 2 Kaijus on the board anyway, and aside from that you also have the Gamma Seal to follow up on as well, so you're not necessarily in the worst position out there. Alright, so here's a very different hand. What we could start off with easily is go for the pre-prep, allowing us to then search for our Relinquished and one of our ritual spells. So that's definitely fantastic, of course. Because we have the spare Relinquished, we could definitely go for the Orpha Scorpio, get rid of one of our Relinquished, and we could then summon out our Darlingtonia Cobra, being over, where is it? Nope, not there. Near the top of the deck. Now you already have the polymerization, so I'm thinking in this particular circumstance you could actually just go for your instant fusion or your super poly, your relinquished fusion. So in this case I'm going to search out relinquished fusion. I think it's a bit more viable in this particular circumstance, but it's definitely still great that we have the Cobra and Scorpio, which can go into other things as well. That extends a bit of the plays. You could just keep them on the board. That could definitely be a viable option as well. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to link these 2 up, and this will allow us to then go for our Verte Anaconda, which is definitely still fantastic, of course. Now mind you, at this point you could actually just play the Verte Anaconda and use its effect, paying 2,000, allowing you to activate directly from your deck the actual instant fusion, which is definitely very nice, because what happens is when you activate instant fusion you could then summon out one of your monsters here. So I'm just going to bring out the Thousand Eyes Restrict, and from that we could essentially just go for our ritual summon. So you go for Black Illusion Ritual, summon out your Relinquished by attributing this. Definitely fantastic. You could still set these 2 cards, of course, so it's not necessarily the worst thing, and you still have this to go with as well. So yeah, definitely very interesting, because obviously your Relinquished is definitely a really powerful card to start off with. Your opponent already just can't do anything anyway with the Relinquished out on the field, so yeah, it's definitely quite fantastic. Otherwise, on your opponent's following turn, you have 2 dark monsters and you have a super poly. I mean, you could pretty much guess what you could actually do there. Alright, so in this particular hand here, we could see that there are definitely more spell cards. Let's just empty out our deck first. So firstly I'm going for the pre-prep, allowing us to then go for our Relinquished and our ritual spell card. So here's Relinquished, and here's our ritual spell card. What I do like about this is the fact that you could actually just go for your Black Illusion Ritual, ritual summon your Relinquished by getting this away, and summon that out, which is definitely very nice, of course. But from that you could also then go for the Preparation of Rites, allowing you to then search out your Relinquished. So where is it? Over here apparently, I'm 2 on the top of the deck, but that's fine, because now we could also just add back our Black Illusion Ritual, which is fantastic, of course. Normal summon out our Orpha Scorpio, allowing us to then get rid of the Relinquished and summoning out our Darlingtonia Cobra. So in this case we're going to look through the deck, find it over here, summon it out, and Darlingtonia Cobra will allow us to then search for whatever we need. So in this case I'm thinking, well, we can't really go into anything else, so unfortunately I'm going to have to search for an instant fusion. Maybe not an instant fusion. I'll go for a relinquished fusion in this case, which is a rare thing to search for, but in this particular circumstance I'll show you why, because we could just link these 2 up, allowing us to go for our Verte Anaconda, which we could then pay 2,000 life points, activate instant fusion, allowing us to immediately just go into our Millennium Eyes or Thousand Eyes, whichever one you actually see fit, and we could then activate our Relinquished Fusion, allowing us to then fuse our 2 monsters, and that would be brilliant because we go into a Millennium Eyes Restrict over here, which is definitely fantastic, of course. So yeah, we could then set 2 cards here as a means of bait to scare the opponents, and believe it or not, bluffing actually does work in the game, so it's quite fantastic. But the Kaiju Slumber, even if it gets destroyed, you could banish it, search out a Kaiju anyway. Otherwise, on your following turn, if your opponent gets rid of your board somehow, then you always have the Interrupted Kaiju Slumber to work with, which is definitely still very fantastic there. So with that being said, whatever your opponent even activates as a monster effect, this is going to steal their monster, so it doesn't really matter. It's just already going to be really good right off the bat. And mind you, we also have here the Illusionist Faceless Mage from the graveyard as well. So yeah, technically it's still a really great card to actually go for here. So in this case, you could actually just summon out, well, any of these as well if you wanted to later on, so it's definitely fantastic. After, of course, you brought this out if they manage to destroy this, and then when they get rid of this, you just summon back your own card again, so that's definitely fantastic. It's kind of like this small loop that kind of keeps you protected, but also giving you plenty of resources to work with in the next following turn. However, that was pretty much it for this particular test stand video. I wanted to keep this one short because this one is particularly a bit lackluster going first, and it's clearly a deck meant to go second because without having any monsters on the board to interact with, at least on your opponent's side, you can't really do anything. You have kaijus, you have monsters that can steal other monsters, so because of that, we kind of have to leave it until the test hands for going second actually comes out, in which case this deck will hopefully shine a bit more. Otherwise, definitely let me know what your thoughts are on how you would actually play out each of these opening hands. If you have any suggestions as well as to what you would do to adjust the deck, then definitely let me know. However, with that being said, thanks for joining me today. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next time.